Welcome to the Block Exploring podcast, your first step into the world of crypto and blockchain. The Block Exploring podcast is your one-stop place to find quick, clear, and unbiased information on everything in the crypto space. Our goal is to help you grow familiar with the crypto space by growing along with us as we go on our crypto journeys. Follow at Block Exploring on Twitter for our newest uploads and our publishing schedule. We, here at Block Exploring, are crypto enthusiasts working hard towards becoming experts. Today's podcast is presented by co-hosts Tommy and Elias. Find us on Twitter under @Sabai2 and @OtokoCrypto. Right now you can find us on Spotify and YouTube. Before we start the episode, we would like to inform you that we are not financial advisors. Therefore, nothing said in this podcast should be considered financial advice. Always contact your financial advisor before making any investment. With that said, sit back and enjoy today's podcast. What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 25 of the Block Exploring podcast, News Bytes. 25, that's a milestone, Tommy.
Yep.
We're a quarter of the way to 100, and we're very thankful for everyone who has tuned in so far. So let's get right into it. This week, we're going to be talking to you about every single thing that happened in the crypto space and more, of course, starting with the Umbrella network. So, as you guys know, this past week has been extremely bullish, especially once it turned to October. It's been extremely bullish for almost every single crypto in the crypto space. The market has been booming. Bitcoin has been flying up.
Yeah.
And I think one of the major news clippings that you can find this past week is the Umbrella network, which basically constitutes a bridge between Ethereum and the Binance Smart Chain, which allows for transactions to happen cross-chain.
Mhm.
And Tommy and I have been talking about cross-chain and its importance for a while now, also on the podcast. And it's just really a positive development, I think, to see that something as dominantly used as the Binance Smart Chain, even though it has its decentralization or its centralized nature and all the issues that come with that, it's very positive to allow this chain interaction with Ethereum. I think it's extremely bullish, and it's not only BSC that is in the works, or BSC has been integrated now, but there's other blockchains like Solana, AVAX, and more that are in the works. They just don't have a deadline yet. And I think this umbrella network, this cross-chain integration is extremely bullish for the crypto space, not only in Uptober, not only in Q4, but just in general. What do
Yeah.
you think about it?
I think it's great, right? Because what I think both of us want to see is like a more interoperable,
Yeah.
landscape in blockchain. We want to see something that's very much like our current internet, which is very free and like it's not owned and centralized into one project or entity. So like if we look at these blockchain networks like Ethereum, Solana, and ADA as effectively their own ecosystems and their own internets, effectively, you
Yeah.
know, I think it's only positive that they would be able to connect with each other,
Mhm.
because that makes a bigger internet overall, right? And I think it just allows for more people to do more things, more projects, more opportunities and
Yeah.
stuff. And this is a project that's helping get us closer to that type of future. Layer
Yeah.
2 solutions also probably be involved in this cross chain bridging. Yeah, so
Mhm.
I think it's super. Yeah, like you said, pretty bullish. But oh my days, do you hear that alarm?
Yeah. Let's just wait it out. I can just cut that out. Don't worry about it. Yeah. So, uh, anyways, indeed, what you're saying, this interoperability is very bullish for the crypto space. And I think what also is very bullish about this is that, basically, um, the Umbrella protocol also gives very fast and accurate price feeds.
Mm-hmm.
And this cross-chain operability also allows for higher accuracy spot pricing and derivative pricing. And especially when it comes to this cross-chain operability, it will also allow more accurate pricings to occur by taking data and data sets that are coming from decentralized exchanges that function on, for instance, like AVAX or BSC.
Right.
And that's extremely bullish also for getting a more general insight, a less biased insight, and also maybe a more like, um, well, what do you call it? A less like biased insight towards, for instance, any decentralized exchange that just focuses on the Ethereum mainnet,
Mhm.
or any potentially influenced exchange price, like like sometimes happens on like Binance or any centralized exchange, that there's minor price manipulation, etc.
Because I think it's
Uh,
yeah, it's pretty positive to see. Well, it's cool to see like the actual applications of Oracle solutions now. Because I think in
mhm.
the crypto blockchain space, it's widely known that like Oracle solutions are necessary to really evolve the applications that we do
Yeah,
have on chain. Because there is a necessity to bring you know to have that mixture of off chain, on chain information, and like that really brings a lot to these decentralized applications. So I think this is just like one example of how oracles can be used, and like it's a pretty powerful example.
true, definitely. And also with this development with Solana,
Hmm.
you were talking about that.
Yeah, so Solana also is like there's now a bridge between Solana and the Ethereum blockchain to bridge NFTs over. So not I mean whereas in on the Ethereum blockchain, I feel, well, it's not that I feel it, this is just the case that DeFi was mainly built upon the Ethereum blockchain first before NFTs
Yeah,
were possible. So you needed that banking layer before you could even have the NFTs necessarily to then you needed the commerce to be
yeah.
possible before then you could have things to commerce with. If you get what I'm saying.
Hmm.
And Solana's kind of gone the other way, or maybe they're doing it simultaneously. I'm not big on the DeFi and Solana, but I understand that like NFTs on Solana are increasingly becoming a thing, right?
Yeah,
Different projects like Soul Punks or Solar Gorillas or Soul Apes, or different types of NFT projects are happening on Solana. So it's interesting to see now that you can actually bridge NFTs from Ethereum to Solana, because that widens the use cases and utility for NFTs, which I think is a good thing in
hmm.
general.
No, absolutely. I don't think I could agree more.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, anyways, on top of that, and this is definitely in the spirit of Uptober, right?
Yeah.
The SEC has extended 4 Bitcoin ETF deadlines by 45 days.
Hmm.
Now, what does this mean? That means that whenever you list anything in front of the SEC, you have to comply with a bunch of forms, right? And I think that one of the forms is like 19B-4. That's, I believe, one of the most important ones for filing an ETF. And the fact that now extensions are being given for these ETFs, that's such a bullish development, because it shows that these kind of Bitcoin, or yeah, the exchanges at least, are
Hmm.
being allowed to, well, list them, and they're getting a bit of leeway, which is very contrary to what we see in previous crypto regulation. Everyone has been very actively bashing on any more secure, or like securitized form of investment contract when it
Yeah.
comes to Bitcoin. So it's really nice to see that the deadline has been extended.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, because I mean, the SEC has been on just a FUD rampage,
Mhm.
like in their relation to in crypto. I mean, like Gary Gensler is just very much settled into this nanny, nanny
Yeah.
Gensler role of constantly talking about how needing to protect consumers and effective. I mean, in most of his statements, just using very simple words that
Yeah.
creates a lot of FUD. But
Mhm.
for people who are actively in crypto and blockchain, these you know s- small statements that he makes
Mhm.
don't necessarily like affect them as much, because
Yeah.
it's but for those who are not ingratiated in crypto blockchain as or hardened to this type of FUD, like it does have a massive impact. But you see, but that's at least in some respects, the SEC is giving some leeway. But
Yeah.
I feel like I'm just curious, like how much leeway are they actually giving to, but on the other hand, they're also making it very hard for
Yeah,
different companies, projects, and stuff to
yeah.
understand what the regulatory landscape is actually like for a crypto blockchain.
No, absolutely. And I think there was an analyst from Bloomberg who
Mm,
predicted that an ETF would be approved by the end of October. Now, this kind of like white swan event kind of news,
mm.
even though it's not a term, but like you have a black swan event, you have
Yeah,
a
yeah.
white swan event, which is extremely bullish. Well, it's been discussed like what does a Bitcoin ETF actually mean,
Mm,
right? Like, what does it mean for the crypto space? Because an ETF isn't really listed on the crypto exchange. It's listed on the Nasdaq or something like that.
mm,
And a lot of well, speculation around this as well. The more conservative investor will invest in an ETF and will feel more comfortable putting money into an ETF instead of directly switching over to cryptocurrency and actively using it and being part of the ecospace.
mm,
And also, there's a lot of regulation when it comes to things like that. Well, the real spenders, right? The real big institutions that have a lot of, well, financial swing,
yeah.
like public pension funds, yeah, multi-market mutual funds,
Different funds, yeah.
yeah, retirement plans. They all have like so much money,
Mm,
but they are not allowed to invest in crypto because it's not an asset class that they're allowed to invest in. They're only allowed to invest in fairly boring and stable kind of investment vehicles.
mm,
Now, what this can mean if a Bitcoin ETF becomes accessible, it means that these massive corporations with so much money will be able to pump this into into our market,
yeah.
for once, maybe via a bit of a loop, via an ETF, but it's extremely bullish, and not only for Bitcoin, but for the entire crypto space.
Well, yeah, it signals that there are investors that want exposure to our industry,
Yeah,
but this is probably the way that they're gonna want to be exposed to it, which is, yeah, you do you, you know.
yeah,
But yeah, it's cool. I think, yeah, I mean, like people just, I think the more ways people are able to interact with crypto and blockchain, whichever way that is, it's probably just bullish in the long term because that people are invested at least in some way in the future of this industry.
no, absolutely. And I think it's also like in the words of Henry Ford, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
if I would ask my customers what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse. So what you hear now is like all these people want to invest in Bitcoin. They want their fund managers to invest in Bitcoin,
Yeah,
but they don't want to be exposed to the risk of the crypto space. Now, at some point, this like the crypto space will develop to such an extent that it will become a whole lot more stable and a whole lot less volatile, and then this innovation will become more and more ubiquitous, right? It will become less of a yeah, speculative discussion and more of an investing discussion.
yeah.
And at that point, the faster horse will be replaced by a car.
Hmm.
The ETF will be replaced by just directly buying Bitcoin, I
Yeah.
think.
And I would argue that we are quickly going in that like every day we're quickening our pace of which we're actually getting to that point.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, depending who you ask, a lot of people believe in that the days of the 4 year cycles are gone.
Mm-hmm.
We're now in a an age of super cycles in the crypto market. And some would argue that investing in crypto now is no less volatile or speculative than the traditional stock market, which
Yeah.
is in itself also a heavily manipulated market.
Yeah.
So to the average retail investor, it's all a bit of the same, quite frankly. But it's
Yeah.
it's not just retail investors investing in these markets. It's also the institutional investors, of which these ETFs are probably going to be their main mode of getting exposure to the industry.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think that this kind of looming news that we're hearing, like, oh, Bitcoin ETF will be approved, might be approved. There's 4 applications going on
Mm-hmm.
that have been extended. Well, I think that's something that's mainly driving like the price of Bitcoin up at the moment, and I think that's kind of driving the market right now. But you had another idea. You said that it was NFTs.
I think it's a personally I mean I think it's a combination of laws, including
Hmm.
like this ETF news, but it's I think the hype around NFTs. I mean, but I also think like I might be like a bit, obviously a bit biased because I'm heavy in the NFT space.
Hmm.
But the hype I see from the NFT space with all the types of people who are getting into like large amount of celebrities getting in, everyone's like it just seems like everyone and their mom also likes NFTs these days, and at least trying to understand NFTs or like. And when I look at how like the different NFT projects that are like coming up, like there's this NFT project called So Rare
Yeah,
that's being funded by loads and loads of like ex football players or current football players, but it's like a fantasy football you know um, application or project that you own these NFTs, and but you can use them to play fantasy football, which is
yeah,
like a huge thing. I mean, loads of people play fantasy sports, right? So
yeah,
it's like it's the utility of NFTs is like expanding at an exponential rate, right? And that's really bringing in a lot of people, a lot of hype in NFT space. If you're just on NFT Twitter in itself, it's like every day it's a constant hype train.
yeah.
I mean, and it's not just hype because it's just like there's a lot of utility being built around these projects.
Hmm.
Like Board Ape Yacht Club just put out their, I mean, not just but like weeks ago, put out their roadmap 2.0. And Board Ape Club is a huge project. Like they were just listed on Sotheby's, some of these apes, these NFTs,
Yeah,
for a couple 100,000 each. That's huge, right? But they're part of their roadmap is to have a huge NYC like festival essentially, and there's like a yacht party and all these
yeah,
things, right? And you're only going to be able to access that if you have this NFT, which is like pretty massive, especially when you start thinking about the people who are owning these NFTs right now. Like Shaq is also owns this NFT, like Steph Curry owns this
yeah,
NFT. All these people are part of this Board Ape Yacht Club community, and it's like, okay, I mean, it doesn't matter how much you care about celebrities or but it's like the community in itself was lit before the
yeah,
celebrities came in. So this is the type of stuff that's happening in the NFT community right now. And I think
yeah.
that hype is generally driving this bull market as well, because if people if you think of NFTs as the gateway,
Hmm.
right? That just brings the loads of people. So you start learning about NFTs. These NFTs are tokens, right? Then you start, if you didn't know about Bitcoin, Ethereum before that, like you're definitely going to, like, after you get into NFTs, like, I mean, ETH
Yeah,
and like whatever other like network tokens are very necessary for to be in the NFT space. And as a result, like you'll probably find out about Bitcoin, the big daddy,
yeah.
of the space. So I
Oh,
think
absolutely.
that any hype or any like positive like momentum in the space is great.
Yeah,
And like there's obviously so many drivers, but NFTs seems to me like a huge driver, like right now.
yeah. No, absolutely. I think I agree with that sentiment. No, definitely. Yeah. So overall, Uptober, it's starting off crazy.
Yeah,
It's starting
people were
off
saying
wild.
it's gonna be crazy. Like people have been suggesting it'll be October is gonna be hype,
Yeah,
for like months now. And now we're actually really seeing what's up,
yeah. We're
which is
seeing
sick.
insane price surges. I think
Yeah.
Bitcoin was up like 15% in no time.
Yeah.
It surged above 47K and 270 million. I think it was even like 295 million.
Mhm.
Whenever I checked, my Twitter whale alert bot was like exploding. All the bears got liquidated, and all the shorts, yeah, they were just liquidated, and it's so much money that was just lost
Yeah,
in negative perspective.
I know. I feel like a few, not even a few weeks, like a few days or something ago, people were like, some people were going on about like, yeah, so like, not even like weeks ago, like not, I mean, like if just a few days ago, like people were really discussing, how there's this like tension between the bears and bulls, like they're just fighting it out at this like,
Hmm.
particular market price mark. But I think right now that October's hit, like I think it's safe to say the Bulls have won that battle.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's a war between the
It's
two, so we'll see how it goes.
No, absolutely. And I think with all that said, that was it, right, for this week's episode of the Block Exploring podcast. It's been a very positive week, and we deserve it, I think, after a very bearish few weeks. So, with all that said, stay bullish for now, and we will see you in the next episode of the Block Exploring podcast. Peace.
Take it easy.